go. Hey everyone. Kathy here from Santa Marta Designs. How are you? And we are going to be doing a flamingo wreath tonight. I'm just trying to make sure everything looks like it's good and ready to go. Good, we're on. Great. So like I said, we're going to make a Deco Mesh Flamingo Wreath tonight, and we're working with two different kinds of mesh. We're working with a 10-inch pink foil mesh, and this is cut at 26 inches long. And then we're working with this turquoise with jute, so it's like a poly jute. I'll take a big long piece out just so you can see better. So this is the turquoise poly jute. So see how it has like weavings of jute in there? So we are going to use this as our alternating piece, and this is also cut at 26 inches. And then for the ribbon tails, we have everything cut at 12 inches, and we're going to work with this large black and white polka dot, this white Swiss dot with black polka dot, and then alternate with these two tails, this turquoise solid linen, and then this, oops, upside down turquoise and pink mixture of like a diamond alternating print. Okay, so what we're going to do tonight is do the woodland ruffle method. If you guys don't know, that's my favorite to work with for mesh wreaths. We have our base, which is a Dollar Tree 14-inch base. So it's not as raised as the pre-made bases, but this will work just fine. So I'm going to work with a little bit less than what you usually see for ties. So I have black pipe cleaners on here, and they're probably about like 5 inches apart or so. So usually I do 10 ties on the bottom and then 8 ties on the inner rings here. So we're going to change it up, and so we have 14 tonight. Okay, so I have 8 on the bottom and then 6 in the inner rings. So 8 all the way around on the bottom and then 6 on the inside. So go with an even number when you cut it down, just so that you have alternating colors if you're using 2, and then that way you don't end up with 2 of the same color together. But otherwise, we're going to get started. So I was just playing around to see if I wanted my turquoise and my pink and turquoise ribbon on the turquoise mesh, but I think I'm going to go opposite and take this ribbon tail set out and actually do, I think I just closed it up instead of actually opening it up. So I think I'm going to take this ribbon tail set out. I'm not going to throw it away, it's just going to get saved for our next set. And I think I'm going to use is this black and white mixture with the turquoise, just because I feel like it stands out a little bit better. And whenever I add my ribbon tails in, I'm just trying to curve the ribbon already, just to make my life easier when I put it in my tie here, that it's already got a curve to it, and then you can kind of fix it as you go. Okay, so just give it a few good twists, and then voila. So I'm going to put the black probably towards the bottom. Okay, I like that look better. I think the turquoise on the turquoise was a little too matchy-matchy for my taste. Okay, so my curls are going up and down. That's the way I like to put them in. You can put them in the other direction as well. And so this time I cut it at 26 inches. You guys would normally see me cut the mesh shorter if I'm doing, longer if I'm doing woodland ruffle, but I decided to try shorter and cut the number of ties down just to see if we could experiment in getting a different look and not so raised as far as the height of the wreath goes. So you're going to want to take is, I'm just making sure we're in camera, so going to want to take your end piece here, and I put something heavy on the other side just to make sure it's not bouncing back at me. And if it's a type of mesh that kind of wants to kind of wiggle and jiggle on you, I kind of like to start from the sides instead of holding in the middle. So I kind of hold from the sides and do a tight curl and then just roll a few times, okay? And then if you have something like a chip clip, or I use these nice inexpensive clothespins. They're also well for hanging clothes, but not only hanging clothes, for actually tying things up. So then you're going to flip it over, go from the other side, okay? And then there you go, roll it a couple of times, and then that's when you can remove your little heavy object. And you're going to kind of just either walk your mesh down, or you can move your hands up. So either way works, okay? And then you take your clip out. Now, if you don't have the hand strength, you could leave your clip in and just hold that aside, okay? Don't put it in your tie yet. And then you're going to take your ribbon tail set, that whatever you've picked, okay? So this one, we have this one that we picked to go with our pink, and we're going to just recurl this because we took it out of our other set. Take your clip out, and then you can just place it into your mesh. So now you're holding 3 pieces all together, which is your mesh and your 2 ribbons, and you're just going to place that in your next open tie here. Oh, and my mesh got away from me. So if it happens, just curl it back up into your hand. And then just grab your other side here and just tighten that up and close it off. Now, if you're not going to put anything else in these ties, there's several things that you can do to close that off. Before I go there, just what I like to do is just come to the sides where these meet and just make sure that they're kind of standing at attention against each other. And my ribbon is getting stuck to my mesh and it's not playing nice. There we go. Oops. All right, so then here you can fix your ribbon however you want. So I'm gonna go with the look of putting my 2 1/2s on the bottom today. And it's not something that I stay consistent with. I change the look up quite often. Hi everyone. Hi, welcome. I always have a hard time picking out ribbon because there's a lot of cute ones and I can't help myself. Angelica, sorry, I have to squint to see. I can totally relate. There is always a ton of really nice ribbon. So what we can do as we go along, if we want to, if we already know that we're not going to put anything else in these ties, you can either take like a pencil, or I just happen to always use my paintbrush pen, my paintbrush. I was going to say paintbrush pen, like I have a paintbrush pen in my hand. It's a paintbrush. And then I just curl these down, because if you're working with like a regular wreath form, a pre-made one that already has the ties on it, a lot of times what you do is just leave those open, the twist ties, you leave them open, exposed to the whole wreath. So this would be nothing different than doing that. But if you don't like the look, then you can just either bend them back or cut them off, whatever you want. If you're going to leave them exposed like this, I do tend to, at least on the very tip, curl that really pointy, sharp end piece in, so that way nobody snags their little fingers on it and either pricks themselves or cuts themselves or runs away screaming from their wreath after they just handled it. So that's going to start looking really cute. Okay, so let's continue on. So usually what I do is I already have these bundles already made so we can zip through this, and I did not tonight because I figured, you know what, I'm going to time myself. So I know we took a little time to go over the explanation of the actual method, but now we're going to kind of try and zip along a little bit faster. And again, so every time we come in the middle, we're just going to come in and curl that up. And I tend to like to reclip these back in because my fingers are kind of small, so I like to have full exposure of my fingers to my ribbon versus trying to hold my bundle and then hold my ribbon. And there's a lot of people that can do it with just holding this in one hand and not having to take it out. But it's just to show you that everybody does things a little bit differently, and it's not wrong. It's just whatever works for you. Okay? So, again, I don't have 10 ties on the bottom like we usually do. I have 8. And then on the inner rings, I have 6. So I just wanted to play around, like I said, with if I changed how many ties we're using, could I get the height of my wreath down a little bit and give it a little bit different look. And so on the sides, again, I'm just going through and making sure that I have things kind of standing at attention with one another on the mesh side. So I have not made a flamingo wreath before, so I'm kind of excited. See how this goes. Oh, and I didn't even show you guys the sign, did I? I put it as the picture to the live tonight, but I don't think I showed you guys the sign. I just kind of went right in and started crack-a-lacking at the work here. Probably because I was getting a little nervous about timing myself to see if I could get this done a little bit faster while talking. Because me, as I start talking, I start taking a little bit longer. So I was trying to see if we could speed it up. Otherwise, we're almost at Friday, everyone. I think Fridays could never come fast enough now, even more so than before. At least in my book. Fridays aren't even my favorite. It's Saturday. Saturday is my new favorite. Okay. So again, you're going to have to play with your ribbon whatever way you want it to go. It gets naughty in wanting to go in different directions than you want it. And my motto is always, it's going to look ugly before it looks pretty, okay? So I know things kind of in the beginning, you look at it, it's like, oh, maybe not so much what she's going to do will come out nice, but we'll make it work. We'll make it work, okay? We will make it work. Just need to move a couple of things over so our ribbon tails don't keep snagging our mesh. There we go. The mesh is cut at 26 inches, and normally this is much shorter than I usually cut it for the woodland ruffle. So normally I cut the mesh at anywhere between 34 to like 36 inches because I don't like to have leftover on my mesh rolls a ton, just because it's sometimes just a space occupier, I guess, for me, that I have this mesh and it sits there for a long time before I get to use it again, this leftover mesh. So I like to try and sometimes use 2 rolls up completely for the woodland ruffle, up to 10-inch mesh rolls. But since I was going to go with a lesser amount of ties, I didn't want to then make each one of my cuts even longer to use up the roll. So I said, well, maybe we'll just have to maybe find or make another flamingo on our own to do another wreath with the leftover. Because I have a good amount left over on each roll by using only 26-inch cuts. And, you know, maybe in the end I might not even like it. Who knows? We're trying this out. We got to try different things to see if we like them. This is not playing nice and staying where I want it to stay. working with mesh, you're going to get snagged everywhere. So don't wear your nicest clothes. A lot of my wreathing friends wear aprons. I personally I can't even wear an apron when I cook. I just find it restrictive. I have a cousin in Portugal that loves aprons. Like, I think that's even like, she loves to collect them. Like, she gets like a different apron every month. And she loves using them all the time. But, I don't know, I guess for me, I've never gotten into them. But I have a real crafty friend that makes them custom made if you have like a business and want your logo on it and everything. She does a great job of putting that together. So, what is everybody's crafting rooms looking like these days? What are you making? Or crafting spaces, I should say. Oh, I kind of obviously didn't really do a good job of getting that one even. It's like about 3 inches longer on one side than the other. I like this turquoise ribbon. I always say I'm going to start like a ribbon review. I'm going to start like a blog with a ribbon review if I only ever had time to do it. I would love to do it. Basically like reviewing what kind of ribbon you're using and if you like it or not. So see, this is giving me a lot more space in between, where usually if I have more ties, the mesh is coming up higher against each other, but this is laying a little more flat, which is the whole purpose of what I was trying to get at. So I'm glad we're accomplishing something, right? So again, normally we have 18 ties. Normally on what you see, for the most part, generally everyone using is 10 ties on the bottom and then 8 ties on the inner side. We have a haircut situation here. Here we go. But like I said, I wanted to try something a little different. Try and see if we can get it a little bit lower, flatter, not so high. Because by the time sometimes you get these done, you're already probably about 4 to 5 inches high, and then you add the bow and it's like another 4 inches. And so I know there's the pancake wreath method out there, which is basically you put a tie on every single crossbar section. And that can definitely make your wreath very skinny. So, just wanted to try something a little different. And this may end up being very close to the pancake wreath. Who knows? Who knows unless we try. Is everyone's weather warming up? We are in Massachusetts, and finally Mother Nature realized that she should probably give us some spring weather soon, or pretty soon we're going to be in June and wearing sweatshirts. So finally started to get some more sunshiny days. So we definitely had a lot of rain. Ooh, this foil one wants to just give me a little run for my money. And you just try to walk your fingers up or bring them down in the center of your mesh. My ribbon keeps flipping over. Just looking back to make sure I didn't put one upside down by accident. Okay. So this is the last tie on the bottom there. And so like I said, you need to have an even number if you're using, not need to, but I would recommend, if I was making it, to have an even number if I'm doing two different colors. So then that way when you get back to the beginning set, you're at a different color than what you started off with, okay? Because otherwise you'd have the same exact color against each other. Not that that's horrible, but if you're looking for alternating, then it won't give you that look. Okay, so now we're going to work on the inside. So I'm just going to come in here and open up my ties, because I kind of like to flatten them down so they don't get in my way when I'm working on the bottom rings. So those are all open, and let's take our next one. And so we already made our bow, so we're going to change it up a little bit, and we're probably going to be doing one project a week instead of two. But what we're going to do is we're going to break it up into pieces where we do half of our project or part of our project on Facebook on Monday nights, okay? And then we will finish off the rest of the project on here on YouTube on Thursday nights. I try to go on at 9, but when I have a chance to go on a little bit earlier, I do, just because I know everyone starts getting a little tired. It's Thursday. Everybody's had a long week, so everybody kind of likes to finish up a little bit early, including myself. I've got some piggy orders to fill as well. Not piggy, I keep saying piggy because I'm working on the pig too, but cow orders, sorry. So we're going to have a long night ahead of us. Alright, so I'm going to start closer to where the pink one is here with the turquoise. I'm wondering, does the turquoise look turquoise for you guys, or I'm always wondering how our lighting looks on screen, because on here it never looks right. This black and white polka dot ribbon, I love it. It's super thick, goes where I want it to go. Shapes itself nicely. So again, about 3 to 4 rolls, turn it around, do my 3 to 4 rolls on the other side, and then just scrunch it up in the middle. Okay. Alright. Grab our turquoise and pink combo, pinch it, curve it, and slap it down in there. Starts getting a little hairy when you're working on the inner ring, because everything gets a little more close together. You gotta work at spreading things apart and making sure all the negative space is kind of filled in with something, and that you're not just looking at a big old gaping hole in your wreath. Okay. And ribbons can kind of need some constant adjusting sometimes. sometimes. Okay. So like I say, it's gonna start looking pretty. I think we've got 4 more ties. I'm liking the smaller amount of ties. As long as it's a mesh that you can make it work so that it's not so see-through. This one I was a little worried with the turquoise. I'm not gonna lie. Because I think you can tell how see-through it is just on my mat. So I was a little worried. I keep forgetting what's gonna go with the turquoise and the pink. Alright. So do our curve and then marry the two together. Okay? So we just put in our pink over there. We're going to put in our turquoise right here. Our bundle is starting to come undone. Thank goodness we got it in there just in time. I'm trying to find where there it is. So when there's a negative space, I kind of just throw my curl into that space. And if we need a haircut, just give it a haircut. Okay. I'm going to bring my ribbons up this way. I know they keep getting stuck on our mesh. So wherever there's like a negative space, I just push my little curl into that space. So that way you can be sure that you're not going to have these gaping holes. So having almost finished with our mesh and experimenting, I would say with the lesser number of ties, I probably would still cut my mesh a little bit longer because I like it thicker. With the ruffles stuck. And I feel like I could have gotten a little more coverage if I had a little bit more here to play with in the middle here. So, hindsight, because we were trying an experiment, I probably in the future would leave the mesh cut around 36 inches. But we were playing around with using not so many ties and trying to get our volume on our wreath down. So we've got 2 more ties. And I'm just leaving my pipe cleaners standing up so I can know to go back in and curl them in the right spots. Okay. I think next week we might do an evergreen base. Running low on wired frames, but we have a ton of evergreen, so I'll have to make a decision. We do have some florals that we're going to be doing as well, so we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Angie is working on a flower wreath using burlap mesh. Oh, good luck. Those turn out beautiful. I'm sure it will come out beautiful, Angie. This mesh got cut at 26 inches for tonight, and normally I do 36 inches, so it's quite the difference. Quite the difference. You don't know unless you try it if you're going to like it. It just makes it a little less voluminous, a little shorter. Short like me. I'll call this the short wreath. Because we won't even go into the discussion about skinny. Oh man, how many snacks I've been eating lately. It's crazy. It's been like a snacking marathon or something. It's been not necessary. I've been eating my stress away. Anybody else eating their stress away lately? It's crazy. Crazy. One last one. I don't know if you guys can tell how short it is compared to like how poofy this thing usually gets. I'll have to measure it. And I'll have to show you guys the sign. This foil one does not want to cooperate. There we go. And one last curl. Alright, so one last ribbon tail set. And then we are going to see where we want to put our sign after I show you our flamingo. Our flamingo reveal. Alright, so our last one is always, or sometimes the hardest one to get in here because you're trying to squish it in between about 3 different sides of mesh. One from the bottom, 2 from the sides. Right? Okay. All right. Much, much shorter, I will say, in height from doing 4 less ties. So if you want your wreath to really, really be a tall one, then I would keep the same number of ties we normally do, which is 18, okay? Alright, just playing with the ribbon, the mesh, making sure I don't have any holes. Not too bad. Sign. Look at this guy. Guys see that guy? Trying to make sure you can see him. There's always a slight lag. Let me see if I can get it up. Oh, there's going to be a lag on this side too. Oh, there he is. So he's got the pink, the turquoise, and the black legs, and that's why I incorporated the black in here. So we are probably going to hang him, I don't know, somewhere around there. And then we've got a big old bow that we did live on Monday night with a little bit of flamingo ribbon. This is not my favorite ribbon because it's like this satin material and doesn't hold very well its shape in the middle, except on the ends where the wired ribbon, where the wire is. So I'm thinking the bow might go kind of right somewhere in the middle, and then this guy, let me find the right spot for him. Maybe he might go, bow might go towards the bottom. Gotta kind of turn it towards me. Let's see. Bow towards the bottom, and this guy maybe up top in the middle. I don't usually like to do middle, but he might go in the middle. And we've got to probably move some of these ribbon tails out because they moved back in. I think that's what we're going to do. What do you guys think? In the middle for our little guy? And I think what we're going to need to do is put a piece of wire on his leg. I was trying to wait and see what he was going to look like and wear, but so he's a wall hanger and he already has two little swivel hooks here, but he doesn't have anything on his leg. We're going to have to be very careful that we don't break his leg putting our nail, not nail in, our staple in. Let's just put wire in on his top and see how it goes. And then I actually might just take a black piece of wire and wrap it around his little leg and then put it in. So let's do that. So he's a little bit heavier because he's wood, so I'm going to grab a little bit thicker gauge wire. Let's use 22 gauge. So let's use some 22 gauge wire and cut like about a foot and a half maybe to 2 on the wire. Okay. No, I did not make the flamingo. Not that talented to cut that wood out. Or I guess not that patient to cut that wood out. He was from Hobby Lobby, I think. A while back, yeah. I think that's where he was from. So these two pieces of wire, I'm going to stick one in this hook here. And just give it a good twist a few times. And then the same thing on this side. And give him a good twist. Alright. Alright, so let's add our little flamingo first. And then we'll put our bow on. I guess we're going to put him in the middle, sort of. So let's move our bow out of the way. Bring this guy back out. And see where we can sneak this wire through our frame. Here. So I think we're just going to poke right through our mesh. And I'm going to turn this towards me. Because if you guys have put signs on before, you know that sometimes the biggest pain in the rumpke is to put the sign in. Okay. Just going to push him up a little bit. I feel like he's falling down. I'm going to get him into another ring here in the back. So I like to try and wrap my wire around 2 rungs of the frame. I just find it's a little bit sturdier. And let me fix these ribbons first. That are about to get smashed. Ribbons are precious, let's not smash them. Right? Let's not smash them. Okay, and let's get this wire in the back too. Oh, I have a little spot I can squeeze it through here. Much easier. Alright, so I'm going to try and tie him off just a tiny little bit before I flip him over for you guys to see. Where are you? Oh, okay, I'm stuck. Stuck. Alright, so I'm just twisting the wire in the back of the frame. Okay, so I like to go between 2 rungs, so 1 and 2. Doesn't mean it has to be these 2, but this one here, no wonder it didn't work. It was 1. I gotta fix that one. But it just feel like it's better than when you use 1 because the wire has a little bit more grip to not slide and be moving around all over the place. We're actually going to undo this one. I thought it was around 2 and it ended up being 1. I moved it in the wrong direction. So now it's around 2. So I can close this up a little bit more. And so I go back in after we get off and I clean up this wire. So what I do is I wrap it around a few more times around the rungs and then I cut it off, and then I also take my pliers and make sure that there's nothing sharp poking out at anybody. Okay, so let's see. I think we're actually going to be okay. I know she's going to have a tendency to want to start flying up a little bit, so I might have to tie her down a little bit. She is squished down a little bit ever so. I have to poke her back up a little bit after, because she is really squished in there. So I think what I'm going to have to do is pull up the wire, push her up onto the very top of the wire base, so she's not so squished into the mesh. If you look at everything else, everything is nice and tidy up, and then in this spot it's like squished. We don't want that. So I'll have to move her back up. Let's get our bow on, and maybe we can get a little perspective in here. So, spot for our bow to get tied to. And our bow, we definitely don't want to squish this in. I'll show you why. Just a second. So we'll be working on uploading the video for how to make this matching bow, hopefully by week's end, or I should say by the weekend, because we're pretty much almost at week's end. Okay. Make sure this is going in the directions that we wanted it to go. And then we're going to come in the back here and again tie this off. So if we tighten this really a lot, look what happens. We just want it to sit there, but we want it to sit there securely. Alright. We're going to have to fix our little flamingo guy though. Okay. So our bow is good because we know that's not going anywhere, and we can now fluff our bow and cut our tails. But I'm going to wait to cut our tails until I fix our little flamingo guy, because once I straighten out and fluff all our tails, I don't want to have to go back and do it again. Okay. So this little guy is going to need to get loosened up a little bit. I was worried he was going to fall, and I tightened it, and then we kind of made him a little too squished. A little too squished, and we're going to need to go around the top rung. So that way he stays up higher. Okay. I think that's a little bit better. I'm going to push some of this material up in here so that it's not all squished behind him as well. Oops, something fell off the table. I don't know what. And then, again, so we're just bringing our pieces up to where they need to be. And fluffing and fixing. Oh, we don't want a ribbon in his eye. Fix that. It's always a fixing game once you get your sign. Where do you really want things? There we go. What do you guys think? Is that placement better or worse? Better or worse? Hi, Celeste. Oh, don't worry. You can watch the replay. How are you? How are things? We did not make the sign. The sign is from Hobby Lobby. Oh, I absolutely cannot deal with satin ribbon. I try and stay away from it, but sometimes the specialty ribbon, that's all it comes in, is satin. Sometimes. It just doesn't like to cooperate. So we're just going to cut these tails real quick. Well, you guys tell me if you think this sign needs to move. I want the sign to stay, move, stay, move. Alright, so these guys here, these tails, what I like to do is actually curl them this way. Almost like you're going to curl your hair. I do better at curling ribbon than curling my hair, let me tell you. You just twist it and it makes like a natural curl. And then you just kind of tug on it slightly and it takes shape. Celeste has the same ribbon. And Celeste, you know what I mean. If you're talking about the satin ribbon. Because every time I keep looking at the satin loop, it's driving me crazy. That it just kind of dents in. Doesn't stay where I want it to stay. So our bow had 2 additional ribbons that you hadn't seen in the whole project yet. So the 2 additional are this 2.5-inch Flamingo ribbon. And I wish I had found something with a little more black in it, but that was what we could find. And then this, I call it like psychedelic looking ribbon. We found that one as well to put in the bow. I like to always either add 1 or 2 extra different ribbons that we hadn't seen in the project yet to the bow. So, I mean, I'm not too upset with the height, but I think I like it a little bit higher like we normally do. So I think we'll be staying with 36 inches on our cuts going forward. But all I'll need to do is clean up the back now and then go into all these ties, these like I showed you at the very beginning. Go in and just curl. I'm going to use my paintbrush. But just go in and curl these little ties that are sticking out and make them little like curly-Q designs almost. If you don't like the look of the pipe cleaners, then you can just hide them or cut them, whatever you want. So you got options. He looks better when he's standing up, and I'm gonna fix him because he's heavy. I may come in and put in, this is definitely gonna get tied on again, but I may come in and just put one more additional bundle right here. I think we're going to, because this is going to have a tendency to move. And we don't want it to move so that it looks like a big old gaping space. So we're going to put one more bundle in there. And if this one, is this one tied to a crossbar? Yeah. It is. But we'll put a pink one in here. We've got pink right here. I'll actually do that now. Why don't we do that now? We'll do it together. 26. Where is our rotary cutters? So I actually go down to 27 because my cutting line is at the very edge of my mat on my desk, and I don't want to cut my desk. So, and then we'll just need to, maybe, I don't know, let's see if we can get it to go without ribbon in there. I just want to add some volume. That's all. I don't really need to add a ribbon if we don't have to. We'll check it out. Let's check it out. Let's grab our black tie. I'm going to have one right here. Let's grab our flamingo. I told you this was experimental tonight. Ooh, can't even see where I was going. Alright, so let's add in another pink guy in here. I think I'm going to do no ribbon. See how it goes. It's just for volume. Lost my tie. Okay. Let's curl this and make it pretty and see if it can blend. See if we can blend it. And if I'm still not happy with it, then you know what I do? This is horrible to admit. I kind of just set it aside in my storage area until I have the patience to deal with it again. That's what I do. You don't fix it right away, just kind of set them aside. Because then it just is a matter of me having the patience to come in and deal with them and either take something apart or add something to it, and it's usually add something to it is usually the answer. It's usually the answer we're looking for. So I'm definitely not going to add any ribbon to that tie because you can't even see it anyways. Alright. Let's see what this looks like now. Definitely going to be playing around with the ribbon because like this guy is squished over here. The wire's in the way. And this little guy is not curled. Okay. I'll be playing with this for a while. So at least he has a little more volume in this little area right here. I'll continue playing around with him when we're done. But for now, gosh, I don't think you guys can see him. I have it zoomed in. Let's see if you guys can see him. Let me know if you guys can see him. I'm still going to play around with our mesh and our ribbon for a little bit. Kind of moving things along. He's not as foofy as we usually do, which was an intended intended consequence of what we were doing with shortening our number of ties and the length at which we cut things. And I'm just going to go back in. This ribbon is really getting stuck to the mesh. I'm going to go back in and open up these ties and resituate them. Not the ties, excuse me, the ribbon tails, because they are a little squished. But I think that's about it, guys. We have our flamingo. So we're just going to curl these little ties, rearrange some mesh so that it's not so squishy, and that's a wrap. Let me know if you guys have any questions, because I've got a delay over here, so I don't want to just hit the end button and then someone be saying something. And then I'm going to tie this up towards the crossbar so this bow doesn't sink down. So we'll do 3 things. We're going to add a little piece of wire just so that this doesn't pop off and fling somebody in the face. We're going to just reassess where all our tails are positioned to after we move our mesh. And then just clean up the back a little bit. So that's probably like 4 things. Just clean up the back. Clean up the back is my most important. I don't like to leave it all yucky. Alright guys, if there's no questions, doesn't look like I see any questions coming through. So if not, thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this. We tried something different using 14 ties in total on our wreath base, cutting a little bit shorter our mesh pieces at 26 inches. All our ribbon tails were 12. And a beautiful flamingo wood base, or wood accent piece, excuse me, on our Dollar Tree metal base. And if you want to catch more, we are on Facebook on Monday nights around 9. And then YouTube, we will get back to YouTube on Thursday nights. So thank you very much for joining us, and we shall see you soon. Have a very safe weekend, and happy Mother's Day to any of you or your loved ones out there for this weekend. Hopefully you will have some virtual safe visits if you cannot visit in person. Alright guys, have a safe weekend. Bye.